The webcam I'm using for this is really lowly saturated. I should fix that at some point. Anyway, I just watched The Force Awakens. Third time seeing it, I think. It's a good film. Like it's a good film. It's a fun little Star Wars film. Um, I really like this film actually. Uh, basically there are two camps when it comes to this movie. There are those that like it because it feels like just a like celebration of everything Star Wars, and there's some that dislike it because it mainly rehashes old ideas. And I understand both camps. The movie does play it safe for the most part, with a few exceptions. It very much felt like this movie existed mainly to tell people, don't worry, Star Wars is safe with Disney, which is questionable considering how the past 4 years went. But overall, yeah, it's good. Um, I actually like J.J. Abrams as a director. People have been really down on him lately. I think mainly because he is pretty predictable, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad trait. Um, I think he was the right choice for this. I think he made a really, really good film. So let's talk about it. First off, I really like that they did manage to keep one thing a surprise originally when the film came out, which was who was going to become, Luke's successor. Because all the promotional material only showed Finn with the lightsaber, and it was Finn who was shown first, alongside the whole "there has been an awakening" line, and the posters all have Finn with the lightsaber. But of course, it's Rey who is the one who will follow in Luke's footsteps. And I thought that was really clever of them because had it not been for the action figures that leaked ahead of release, no one would have figured out from just watching the trailers and such that Rey was going to be the one who did that, and that that I appreciate because a lot of films these days are very predictable, or if they're not, they give away everything in promotion. Like they just like they just will just tell you everything that happens in the film, and it's why I don't like a lot of trailers these days. Um, and Star Wars: The Force Awakens didn't do that. It very much subverted the audience expectation in that regard. Uh, which I think was pretty clever of them. It also doesn't really ape as much from A New Hope as people accused it of. Like, it does have a lot of resemblances, but it honestly does a lot of new stuff too. Like, for starters, the way the movie starts off, like the fact that one of our main characters, is a deserter from the Empire, that's not really something that either of the trilogies did. Like, you didn't have someone who left the separatist side to join the Republic. You didn't have someone who left the Empire. Did I say Empire? I meant First Order. To join the rebellion. You didn't have that, and that's cool. I think it's really cool. I think Finn is a great character. I think John Boyega is does tremendous job playing him too. Like, he is incredibly charming and adorable. Like, he has some really good lines. I think my favorite one is when he first meets Ray and mentions he's from the Resistance. He's lying, of course. And Ray is like, "Oh, I've never met a Resistance fighter." He just goes, "Yep, this is what we look like. Well, some of us, others look different." And like, it's such a wonderful, awkward line that's delivered completely perfect. This movie is really tightly written overall. Like, there's not that much I took issue with. The biggest thing is probably the ending, honestly, because this movie, which made sure to like introduce every single character in the Star Wars universe. And again, um, when they get to the Rebel base, and C-3PO is like, "Oh, hi, I'm C-3PO." You're wondering like, "Oh, okay, where's R2?" And it's like, "Oh no, R2 is just standing by in a corner, has been shut off for years since Luke left." And then at the end, he just turns on and gives them like the map to Luke, and it's like, it feels so out of the blue. Like, as far as I'm aware, droids aren't exactly force sensitive, so like, how exactly did R2 know it was time to do that? Because it wasn't just that they had got the rest of the map, because they did that first and was like, well, R2 probably doesn't have it, even if he would wake up. So, like, was it because Rey was there? It can't have been Luke's lightsaber, because, I mean, Luke lost that lightsaber long ahead of this. That was back in Empire. So, I don't know. I always found that just really out of nowhere. I find it really awkward. It's like the one contrivance I can't deal with in that film is that R2 just suddenly wakes up and have the solution to the problem. Like, it was like, surely they could have found a better way to write in them finding the map. Like, maybe when Rey was doing the whole mind battle with Kylo Ren, when Kylo Ren was trying to get the map from her head, he managed to get the map from his head. That could have worked. I don't know, just something else. BB-8 is adorable. BB-8 is like so good. I love BB-8. Like, all the hype around BB-8 ahead of the film and afterwards is just all valid. All of it. BB-8 is just perfect. They managed to pack so much personality into that little astro droid. It's ridiculous. Like, I always liked the astro droids. I like R2. I like is it R4? Yeah, it's R4 that Obi-Wan has for a while. I do. I like them. But like, BB-8 is on a whole other level. It's just somehow they managed to just pack so much personality into this droid that, can't even really speak. So like, that's really good job there. Beautiful effects too. The fact that BB-8 actually is a practical effect. I remember when the first trailer came out and they showed BB-8. It was a teaser, and people complained about bad CGI, and it was like, no, that's, first of all, it looks great. Second, it's not CGI. You just decided it was CGI so you could complain. it's pretty funny in that regard. Rey, I love Rey. I think Rey is a great character. She does struggle from the issue of being a brunette, because every Star Wars female lead is a white woman with brown hair. I mean, okay. I mean, really, like, the exception is the animated series, which I feel don't count in the same regard here. But like the actual live action films, like, you go from Padme, white woman, brunette, then you go to, I guess if you want to count Kira, Kira is kind of a main character, and same thing there. Then it's Jyn Erso, same thing there. Then it's Leia, same thing there. And now it's Rey, and it's like, I have nothing against brunettes. Absolutely not. I'm dating one. But like, why do all the Star Wars female leads have to look similar? Like, come on. I guess at least we have Rose in The Last Jedi, but she's not as much of a main character as Rey is. But so like, that sucks. But whatever. I do love Rey though. Like, Rey is a really good character. She is a little bit quick on solving some stuff. Like, I don't agree with the Mary Sue comments about her, but I do think when she's on the Millennium Falcon and like going back and forth with Han Solo, the fact that she's able to like figure out stuff about the Falcon faster than he is like a little much. Like, I don't know. Like, surely Han knows the Falcon better than anyone. I get that she's a great pilot and she knows like tech stuff and mechanical stuff, but like, she just started flying this thing today, She just knows where all the stuff is. That is a bit much. That's like my only complaint about Rey. In terms of like, oh, she knows too much. Like, no, the rest is fine. Like, people complain that she's like able to fight. But yeah, she's a scavenger who grew up as an orphan on this like really rough planet. I expect that she knows how to fight, and she doesn't even know how to fire a blaster. Like, I thought that was a nice touch, showing that she knows how to fight, but she doesn't really know all that about it. Like, Han has to actually be like, okay, no, let me help you about that. Um, Han's death, I am torn on. I think Han's death was probably something that Harrison Ford demanded. Because I don't think he wanted to be in more movies, but like, um, I think it's a well executed scene, and it's a typical mentor's farewell. In this case, also a father's farewell scene. But at the same time, I would have really liked to see more of him and Rey because they don't get much time together, and I really like their scenes. Um, what else? Leia's great. Like, she is fantastic in this film. Like, I love old Leia. Old Leia is my favorite Leia. I absolutely adore Carrie Fisher. I'm so sad that she has passed on. Like, every scene in this film with her is just so good. Like, her performance is perfect. Her banter with Harrison Ford, with Han, is just great. Like, when she talks about Ben, that's great as well. Speaking of Ben, like Kylo Ren, I really like Kylo Ren conceptually as a villain. My Whether or not I will actually like him in the end very much depends on how the Rise of Skywalker handles things. But in The Force Awakens, just having the main bad guy, like, or rather the one that's like the poster boy for the bad guys, be this tantrum having, like, unstable man-child, I think that's brilliant. I think that is so different from previous antagonists. Because, like, yeah, Anakin would be, like, whining and throw tantrums, but that was when he was the good guy, and it was not in the same way that Kylo Ren is doing it. I really like that. I think it works really well. I think it makes him scary in a way no other Star Wars villain is, because he's very unpredictable as a result. Um, so yeah, I really like Kylo Ren. Like, I like all the characters. I really do. I love Maz, who only appears in like 2 scenes, but like, Chewbacca's girlfriend. She's fantastic. I love her design. Um, it's just a very good film. And that's why, like, I'm still hopeful for The Rise of Skywalker, which I'm seeing in exactly 10 hours. But like, the movie does still have some problems. Like, it is a bit too reliant on references. Like, they throw in all the references they can, and of course, the fact that the big end goal is stop the bigger Death Star again, is kind of like, I realize there's not that much you can do in terms of how a story like this would progress if you want like a big final showdown area, but the Starkiller base is just kind of silly, and not silly in the fun Star Wars silly, but just kind of like, it's literally just a bigger Death Star. Like, oh, this one draws power from the sun. It's like, that's better than kyber crystals? Why didn't they do that in the first place? You can just eat suns and blow up systems? That's ridiculous, but I mean, apparently it works. What else? What else? There are some set pieces that don't work, like the Raftar sequence on Hans Freiter, Freighter, is it's just kind of, it's the kind of scene that's there to match so that they have a certain amount of action scenes in a film, which is something that's a thing, unfortunately. And it's just kind of meh. I would have rather seen more bonding between Han and Rey, but whatever. Oh yeah, the best line in the film. Did I already say that? No, I said Finn's best line earlier. The best line in the film, with the best delivery too, is when Rey, Finn, and BB-8 leave Jakku on the Millennium Falcon, and they report to Kylo Ren that the droid they're looking for is missing, and they're like, the droid got away aboard a freighter, and Kylo Ren just turns around, and without a sense of sarcasm or like anything, asks, the droid stole a freighter? Like, he seriously believes that's what happened, and I adore that. Like, that's what he got out of this. Not someone helped him. Not that someone helped the droid escape. Like, no, the droid stole a freighter. That's definitely what happened, and like, it's just perfect. I love that line. Kylo Ren. I mean, Adam Driver is great as Kylo Ren in general. I'm a little sad what happened earlier tonight, actually. Well, yesterday. Whatever. Because he was on like some kind of podcast or radio show, I think, or something, and they played recordings of him acting and singing, and he can't handle like listening and watching himself do that stuff unprepared. So he ended up having like an anxiety breakdown and left mid-call, and that's been like ridiculed really badly, and that makes me sad because that's a genuine thing. Like, admittedly, for me as a trans person, it's a little different because there's an additional layer of discomfort, but like, I am still not fully comfortable hearing my own voice, you know? Like, I've been doing like acting and recording myself since I was like 5. Like, sometimes that stuff never gets just won't go away ever. So I think ridiculing him over that is just really bad. It reminds me how people were ridiculing him over his body as well after The Last Jedi came out, which he apparently wasn't comfortable with because he has body image issues. And it's just like, yeah, maybe stop bullying people. That would be good. Oh yeah, I have a Force Awakens cup from Subway that I got when the movie was new. I like it. It's one of the few Star Wars things I have here in this apartment. What else is there to say, really? I think I've covered pretty much every part of the film in some way. Yeah. So, actually, Hux. I don't know the name of the actor who plays Hux. For some reason, I have not looked this up. I don't know why, but I absolutely love Hux. Hux is such a gloriously disgusting character. Like, he is just stereotype Nazi played up to 15 on a 10 scale. And just, this actor, whatever his name is, I'm sorry I don't know his name, he's just selling this character so well. He's just shouting, and it's so wonderful, and I love him. It's so good. Like, like, he's despicable. You hate him. You want him dead. But that's what makes it so good. And also, I ship him with Kylo Ren, so, you know, there's that too. Gotta have a good angst chip going on. And of course, Poe Dameron and Finn should be dating, and the fact that they don't is because Disney are cowards, and that sucks. And I will probably say that again after I watched Rise of Skywalker, but you know, whatever. Next up is The Last Jedi, which I love. Like, I absolutely love The Last Jedi, so I'm looking forward to that. It's almost tied with Revenge of the Sith for me, so, you know, that's cool. Alright, and that's The Last Jedi. We are now caught up. Yay! I'm watching The Rise of Skywalker in 2 hours and 15 minutes, so that's good. I love The Last Jedi. I think it's one of the best Star Wars films. It's the second best Star Wars film as far as I'm concerned. It's just absolutely spectacular. I think Ryan Johnson did an amazing job. And I think it's a shame that fans felt so challenged by it to the point where Disney has basically started backtracking on it, because that's just unfortunate, because like this film really respects the Star Wars legacy in a really good way. It genuinely like develops the characters in a very strong way. It even like dares to reference the prequels, which is something that like the other ones try to avoid as much as possible. There's a scene in this one where Luke refers to Darth Sidious instead of just saying the Emperor. Like that, just that little detail makes me so happy. Just shows that, whether or not people like the prequels, they're canon and their legacy should be respected too. I love that. I love that. I think it's a really good sequel to The Force Awakens too, because The Force Awakens was very safe and this isn't. With that said, I'm not entirely sure why some things were so controversial. Like, a lot of the developments felt very natural and expected to me. There are twists in there, for certain. Snoke being killed was like a big twist. Like, everyone expected that to happen, in the last film, not the middle film. But that works because it's unexpected, and the cat is playing with a toy. But apart from that, everything kind of played out as I expected. Like, Luke is a hermit on this island because he didn't want to be found. They pretty much said that, in The Force Awakens. And yet people were upset that he was, like, grumpy that he was found. I mean, yeah, he went away to not be found. We knew that. And, like, yeah, he's reluctant to train no more Jedis because his last one turned on him. We knew that. And like that's like my big confusion about the film, is that a lot of things people are upset about were things we already knew. Even something like Rey's parents, like in The Force Awakens, Maz tells Rey, that she already knows her parents are not coming back. She's waiting for someone who will never return. And she's just using that as an excuse to not move on. Having Last Jedi come out and be like, her parents were nobodies, young traders, sold her off for drinking money, dead in the desert. Like, that just confirms what Maz was saying, and also elevates Rey's character. She's really going at it with that toy. Really elevates Rey's character, because it means that she's not from a specific bloodline. She's not special just because they have to be special. She's not a chosen one. And that's good. Because if there's one thing the Star Wars saga, or I guess they're calling it the Skywalker saga now, has an issue with, it's focusing too much on bloodlines. And like, it makes sense at first, because Anakin being created by Darth Plagueis and everything to set off a chain reaction that creates the rest of the films, that's bloodline related, obviously. But having a main character that's not related to that, and it's actually just, a new person who could be anyone, that's empowering in its own way. And having like the Skywalker bloodline instead be in Kylo Ren, the villain, just works as a really good subversion of expectation there as well. And I think the movie deals with it great. I think having Poe Dameron be like this trigger-happy gunslinger, basically, was like, it was a thing in The Force Awakens, but it wasn't really tackled as a character trait until this film, because this film has a lot of themes, and they all go hand in hand together. And one of their themes is loss, because at the start of the film, you have all these resistance fighters who end up dying in an attempt to take out a dreadnought led by Poe Dameron. And Poe is like, we took out a dreadnought. That's amazing. We did great. They were heroes on that mission. Whereas Leia is like, yeah, we just lost a bunch of great pilots. Like, we took out a ship, but at what cost? Like, we lost a bunch of people. and you're not valuing life here. And that's a very accurate assessment of that kind of character that Star Wars hasn't really like explored before, like to actually criticize that. Wow. And I thought that was really nice to see, and have that be like an actual conflict in the film, because then you have you really gonna make noises this entire time, Cat? Okay, okay. But then you have like Holdo, who is this calm and collected military expert, and like is able to plan things out, knows what she's going to do, and she is like perceived by Poe to be like the bad guy, the one who is jeopardizing everyone because he's so into his gunslinger classic male hero type ways, where sacrifice is the only way to move forward and we should always attack things. And I think it makes for a really good character arc for Poe, because when he finally realizes that, oh shit, I messed everything up. Because if he had not sent out, Finn and Rose on their own little mission, and had he not performed mutiny towards Holdo, all of their entire crew, apart from Holdo, would have made it to safety. They would have been fine. But he was so certain of himself that he jeopardized everyone, the thing that he thought Holdo was doing. And I think making like the type of character Poe is, a typical male gunslinger hero character, be the one at fault there, is the kind of stories we need right now, because the mindset Poe has at the start of this film is far too common, and is too often seen as like objectively good, like unequivocally heroic, which does not always have to be the case. Another theme is failure. Failure is throughout the entire film. Pretty much every character has a big moment of failure. And this, of course, like they even have like a very simple thesis statement when Yoda literally states, to Luke, the greatest teacher failure is. And like, yeah. Which, by the way, ties in beautifully to the prequel trilogy as well, because of course, at the end of Revenge of the Sith, Yoda is like, "I have failed. I must go into exile," and everything after that is him learning from his failures, and as a result, what we see in the original trilogy. So that was also a really nice way to include the legacy of the prequels in this film. Yoda's puppetry is also beautiful. Like, Yoda has never looked better. Like, absolutely perfect. I love Luke. Luke is such a good character, and Mark Hamill's performance is Oscar worthy. Like, best supporting actor should have easily gone to Hamill, but I don't think he was even nominated. And it's a shame, because like the performance he gives in this film is chilling. Like, it is absolutely amazing. Like, I would say his performance is better than even like Ian McDiarmid or like Christopher Lee in the prequels, or like anything like the most like the actors that are specifically celebrated for these amazing performances. Hamill outshines them in this film. He is that good. And it really shows how underrated Hamill is as an actor. Because, outside of voice acting, he's basically only known for Luke Skywalker. Unless you're a Wing Commander fan. Which I am, but, most people aren't. And that's a shame, because, oh my god, he's so good. He delivers every line so well. Nothing feels forced. Everything just works. And you can understand why he's in the position he's in. Like, you even side with him at first. Like, on points that he is wrong about, you side with him because it feels right. When he says, everything about the Jedi was a mistake, basically. Like, at the height of their power, they let Darth Sidious take over and caused Vader to happen. and like here I am now. I've cast another Vader, etc., etc. And you're sitting there like, yeah, I mean, you're right. I guess the Jedi should end. And then by the end, when he's like, no, I should learn from my mistakes, you're like, oh yeah, that makes more sense. And it's just a beautiful character arc. I also love that they actually dared to go as dark as they did, consider with like the whole Ben Solo thing, because they have, we see three versions of the same flashback. First one told from Luke's perspective, and one from Ben's perspective or Kylo Ren's perspective, and then the true perspective, which is a bit of both. And just having like Luke admit that he had a moment of weakness, pure reflex, instinct, and yes, he brought out his lightsaber to kill his nephew. It was a split second, and he instantly felt shame over it. But he had that moment of darkness because that's supposed to be a thing, that Jedi are constantly feeling called to darkness, and the ones on the dark side feel a constant call to the light, and that's a struggle. And having them actually be like, yes, Luke, the hero, the main hero of the original series, even he can fall to the dark side for a split second. Like that's how tempting it is. That was great. It was superb. But I guess people don't like that because they want flawless heroes, I guess. I loved it. I absolutely did. And finally, the final theme well, the theme isn't sacrifice, but it's like anti-sacrifice. I'm not sure how to frame that as a theme in like one word, but it ties back into the start of the film where like, no, we shouldn't focus on like the fight. We should focus on like who we need to save. Again, Rose has a very, very obvious thesis-like statement, although that one is forced as hell, where she says, what she say? She says, that's how we win, not by fighting what we hate, but by saving who we love, or something like that. And like, it's completely forced, but like, it needed to be there, because apparently people didn't get it, so... I mean, it was there. People still didn't get it, so that's great. And I think that's a message worth having. Like, yeah, I think that's great. Rose is a fantastic character too. Like, I'm so sad still that Kelly Marie Tran, who plays Rose Tico, got harassed to such extreme lengths. She quit all social media and everything over, nothing. Like, the reasons she were harassed, there were, like, 3 reasons. First, she's Asian. Second, she's a woman. And third, she's not, like, conventionally attractive by Hollywood standards. She's a little pudgy. She's cute. But, like, no, that, gotta harass the woman off Twitter now, I guess. And I was actually really disappointed in John Boyega's comments about that recently. I mean, it's probably unfair to like take this as like him attacking Kelly Marie Tran or anything, because it was like an on the spot interview question. But he said something akin to like oh yeah, you face all this shit online, and sometimes you're not strong enough to push through it, so you just leave. Which, implies that Kelly Marie Tran was weak, which I don't think is what he meant to imply, so I'm not going trying to say, like, Jan Boyega is bad, because, no, I don't think so. But I was like, maybe don't talk that way about your co-cast member who was harassed for being a minority. Like, because that is why. Like, Rose doesn't do anything in this film that, like, even... Like, she doesn't even, like, do that much in the film. She is mostly just a side character. Like, she comes up with some ideas at the start. But apart from that, she's mainly there to be, like, Finn's moral compass. To highlight the injustices in the world and stuff like that when they go to Canto Bight. Canto is actually one of the things that I'm not super fond of in the film. I think the scenes, I think going to Canto was necessary to show the injustices going on, because like to show like all these like slave kids working and how they're torturing these animals and how it's like all these big shot weapon sellers who are selling to the First Order and the Resistance and how they're just gambling away and all these stuff. Like I felt that was necessary because we haven't seen what the world is like in the sequel trilogy. Like, why is the First Order so bad apart from killing the Resistance members? This gave us some idea into what a world under the First Order looks like, and I like that. With that said, from a purely pacing perspective, I would probably have preferred it if, when they called up Maz was like, yes, I can fix the code for you, and they just instantly went to Snoke's ship and were undercover for the rest of the film. That would have been more interesting, I think. But, again, I get why that was not the case. Another thing I don't like is Captain Phasma being wasted, again. Like, when she was barely in The Force Awakens, and she had like got a lot of hype before The Force Awakens. Like, look how cool she is, and she's played by oh shit, what's her name? No, I have like a big celebrity crush on her too. This is embarrassing. Brianna Tarf. What is her name? It's oh no, why can't I remember all of a sudden? Oh, that's embarrassing. She's so cool. It'll come back to me, but like, she was hyped up, and then she doesn't really do anything in Force Awakens. She like stands around, and then she gets thrown into a garbage compactor. And when The Force Awakens came out, they said, oh, well, Captain Phasma was actually a character created for Episode 8, and we wrote her in late for The Force Awakens. So that sort of justified her not being in it that much. We figured, okay, well, she's going to get her moment to shine in the next film. And she doesn't. Like, she does get a fight scene, and it's a pretty good fight scene. It's short, but it's pretty good. But in the end, she could have been anyone, Gwendolyn Christie, that's the actress's name. But yeah, I'm very disappointed in how Phasma was handled, and they never rectified either. Like, they had the Star Wars Resistance cartoon, and like one of the first things they established in the cartoon is that, hey, Captain Phasma is here. You think, finally, it's a cartoon, but she will get to do something, and she's still played by Gwendolyn Christie, so that's great. And well, the series has like a few episodes left before it ends, and she has still not done anything. So, great. I love the banter between Hux and Kylo Ren. They are wonderful. I love them. Hux is such a delightful character. I said this in the Force Awakens video, but like, or half of the same video, but Hux is just so delightful to hate. Like, he is so despicable. Absolutely adorable. Actually, I really like the humor in this film. I know that's another thing people have criticized, that they find it a bit too goofy at times, because they throw in a lot of jokes even in serious scenes. I like that, and I actually, like, the original trilogy was like that. The prequel trilogy, not so much. It really only did slapstick a bunch in the prequel trilogy, but the original trilogy had a lot of jokes going on. Like, in almost every longer scene, there was some kind of joke. And I felt that worked in The Last Jedi. Like, the first joke, obviously, is when Poe is calling up Hux and is pretending to not hear him over the radio, and it's just like, yes, and Hux keep restarting his, like, villain speech to Poe every time Poe is like, yeah, waiting for General Hux. Anytime now. And it's like, that's really funny. And then you have like the whole Luke bit where Luke just throws away the lightsaber. You have the BB-8 stuff, like with the alien that puts a bunch of coins into BB-8, and then BB-8 just shoots the coins back out when they need to fight back. Like, it has really great moments. Like, it's really funny. It has really good comedic timing. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think this film is tremendous. I think the only reason I don't think it's the best Star Wars film is nostalgia. Because, I mean, I was a teenager when Revenge of the Sith came out, and I still love that film, and I will defend it any day of the week. But I do also recognize that a lot of my love for that film comes from the fact that I saw it in theaters in 2005. If I were to be able to detach that completely from my evaluation of the film, I would probably end up putting that one second and Last Jedi first, because I think The Last Jedi is a better made film. It doesn't have the characterization issues that Revenge of the Sith has, for example. What else? The Crystal Foxes. The Crystal Foxes on the Salt Planet they're so cool. I want them to be a Pokemon. I want them to be a Pokemon so I can catch them, because they're so adorable. Like, great design there. The designs in general in this film is just really good. Like, a lot of it is just like reworked old designs. Like, you have the new Imperial Guard in the throne room, essentially. But I like that. It's just a good film. I like that they literally closed the door on Reylo, and I don't know, maybe the Rise of Skywalker will completely change that. We don't know. Well, I guess some people know it's been out for a while now, because the premiere was like yesterday or something. But like they actually have that scene where like Rey and Kylo Ren once again have this like force connection, seeing each other, which proves that it was not just Snoke doing that, unless Snoke somehow lives. I really hope not. And then Rey literally closes a door, which somehow ends the force vision. I'm not sure how that works, but you know, it's movie magic. I'm okay with that. I think that's what I have to say, I guess. Yeah, it's just the Porgs. Porgs. Oh, the Porgs are adorable. I just need to get that in there. I have no problem with the Porgs. The Porgs are great. Leia's scene. Oh, okay. I can't believe I forgot to mention it. Leia's scene with Luke is spectacular. It's a wonderful scene, and also Luke's final fight with Kylo Ren, where he doesn't fight. He literally just dodges and then reveals he wasn't there, and it's just a beautiful fight throughout. The cinematography in this film is spectacular. It is such a gorgeous film. They even managed to make us like the emptiness of space feel exciting somehow, which is amazing. And of course, there's that hyperspeed moment. No, it's hyperdrive moment, not hyperspeed. Light speed and hyperdrive, where Holdo blasts through the cruiser. And that scene, which has like 7 seconds of silence, is just like gorgeous. And I still don't understand how people saw that in theaters, and a mere 7 seconds of silence was apparently too much, because people were complaining that the movie was broken. It's like, no, it's an artistic moment, and also showing off the silence of space at the same time. Even though George Lucas has said that in the Star Wars universe there is sound in space, but whatever. Oh, hello. Lastly, I want to talk about the people who get the wrong message from this film. People who listen to Kylo Ren and think he's the voice of reason. When he says, "Let the past die, kill it if you have to," he's wrong. That's the point. He's the villain. He's the unstable villain who keeps fucking up and making things worse for himself. He's not the one who's right here. Like, that should be obvious, but apparently it isn't, because people quote that "let the past die" all the time. Sometimes it's a positive because they think it's a good thing, or sometimes as a The Last Jedi has a bad message kind of thing. And like both instances, like no, he's wrong. He's the villain. He's the bad guy. He's the one who needs to learn that he's wrong. Like, why are people so bad at understanding cinema? Anyway, that's The Last Jedi. I love that film, and I'm caught up. And the next film will be The Rise of Skywalker, the end of the Skywalker saga, which this is now apparently a part of. So Yeah. See ya.